Right, back out here again for the fourth time on the Highways and Hedges, the Chief Place of Concourse. I know that phone is kind of jacked up. That's my backup phone. So, I just want to come out here once again for the fourth time through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahawashi. As I mentioned once before, back out here again for the fourth time on this Sunday night, September the 14th, 2025, through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahawashi. And so, with that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahawah. Yahawashi, and Heavenly Father, true name is Yahawah, and His only begotten Son, by Hashem, in the name of Mashiach Kabashai. Those are the true names in ancient Paleo Hebrew, the last one that I saw tongue, and I said Barak Thumb, to the elders and apostles, wa Akim wa Akwaf, and I say Shalom. And this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 28, verse 8. Salakia. Yeah, this is the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 28, verse 8. It says, the prophets I have before thee and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and of pestilence. Right, so we're out here prophesying against great countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and of pestilence. And we're seeing the war, evil, and of pestilence is intensifying on a daily basis. So this is what we out here prophesying about, sounding alarm about, like it says in Amos, the 3rd chapter. So we're out here prophesying against great countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and of pestilence is only going to continue to increase. Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 9. It says, the prophet will prophesy. It says, the prophet was prophesied peace when the word of prophet come to pass. Then shall the prophet be known that Yahweh has truly sent. Right, so the Heavenly Father has truly sent a prophet to speak, out on the highways and hedges in modern times, just like it was in ancient times, because the prophecies are going to come to pass and be fulfilled. And this is the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 33. It says, and when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know a prophet has been among them. Right, so once this comes to pass, be fulfilled, just like it did in the days of Ezekiel, it's going to happen once again. It says, when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come. Then shall they know that a prophet has been among them. Right, then shall they know that a prophet was among them in ancient times, like it was in modern, ancient times. That's going to occur once again in these modern times. And this is book of Ecclesiasticus, right time for everything. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, verse 1. It says, and to everything there is a season, and the time of every purpose in the heaven. Right, so we're living in modern day times and seasons in every purpose in heaven, which is modern day biblical science and the science of times. That's why it makes perfect sense, because we're measuring the time differently itself, because we're in modern day times and seasons in every purpose in heaven, biblical science and the science of times, which these major events and prophecies that's going to come to pass with the fifth. We're in those times once again, because there's no new thing in the sun, just like King Solomon said. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, verse 7. Drop down to verse 7. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, verse 7. It says, in a time to reign, in a time to sow, in a time to be silent, in a time to speak. Right, so we are in a time of speaking of biblical signs and prophecies that's going to come to pass and fulfill. Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, verse 8. It says, in a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war, in a time of peace. Right, so we're living in a time of war, and we're living in a time of HATE. That's only going to continue to increase. And this is the book of Matthews. Matthews 24 and verse 7. I'm going to start at verse 6. It's the book of Matthews, right? Signs of Hamashiach Kabashai's returns. That's explained in the blue letter Bible that was highlighted. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6, read that Yahawashi speaking. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not trouble for all these things. Must first come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right, it's going to come to pass, but not going to end just yet. Matthew 24, verse 7. It says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, so modern day famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. And that's what we see in the modern day times. Matthew 24 and verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows, right? All these are signs that the Heavenly Father showing us, that Yahawashi spoke about as well too. These are just the beginning of sorrows. This is only going to continue to increase, and that's what we're seeing. And this is the book of second Esdras. Got go to second Esdras. It's the book of second Esdras 16 verse 18. It says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famines and great death, the beginning of wars and of powers, and shall stand in fear the beginning of evils, what should I do when these evils should come? Right, because Ezra, he was mentioning that he had that vision during his times. We are in those times once again. Just like it says in Matthew's 24th chapter that Yahawashi spoke about, the beginning of sorrows, and that's only going to continue to increase. It says, "Hi everyone, I'm Clan." Okay. Yep, it's the book of continuing on. It's the book of Second Edge 16 verse 19. It says, "Behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for the amendment." Second Edge 16 and verse 20. But for all these things they should not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges, right? Scourges, offers, and scorners. Yep, second Edge 16 verse 21. It says, "For behold, the virtuous so be good, right? Virtuous was food and items." It says, "Behold, virtue so good cheap upon the earth, that they think themselves made good case. Even then shall evils grow upon the earth, and sword, famine, persecution." Right, like it says, what's that? First Thessalonians 5 verse 3. When they shall say peace and safety, such strength as the travel in the child of small state. Yep, second Edge 16 verse 22. It says, "For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish famine." It says, "Others shall escape hunger, the sword shall destroy." Right, because we know the moderate swords, but you have to get to that second edge. Just mention that as well too. I think that's in second edges, the 15th chapter. Yep, second edges 15 and verse. Yeah, I think that's second edge of the 9th chapter. It says, "Man should have no pity for his neighbor, but destroy the house with the sword, spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and tribulation." Right, we're gonna be entering those times as well too. And this is the book of second Edges 13 verse 31. Yep, second Edges chapter 13 verse 31. It says, "And one shall overtake the body against another, and one city against another, and one place against another, and one people against another, and one realm against another." Right, we seeing that right now. That's going to come to full effect. This is the prophet Isaiah chapter 19 verse 1, because you're going to have the modern Egyptians against the modern Egyptians. Yep, Isaiah chapter 19 verse 1. It says, "The burden of Egypt," right, modern day spiritual Egypt. "Behold, Yahawah rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be." Yep, it says, "And the idols of Egypt shall move in the presence at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst thereof." Right, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst thereof. And on top of that, before that occurs, hey, you're gonna have as I go to the next verse, this is the prophet Isaiah chapter 19 verse 2. Right, this is Isaiah speaking. You have the prophet Isaiah chapter 19 verse 2. It says, "And I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian, and they shall." This is let me rephrase that back. This is the Heavenly Father speaking through Isaiah, our forefather. This is the prophet Isaiah chapter 19 verse 2. It says, "And I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." Right, so you're gonna have the modern day Egyptians against their modern day Egyptians, city against city, kingdom against kingdom, neighbor against neighbor, brother against brother, which we see in previous signs of that, and that's going to come to full effect. So I'm gonna leave it at that. So I'm gonna go back to that Jeremiah 28 verse 8 once again, and this is the prophet Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 8. It says, "The prophets that have been before thee and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and a pestilence." So we seeing these evils and the pestilence are increasing, and we seeing the modern day wars as well too. And this is Jeremiah 56, and this is out of the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 46. It says, "At least your heart faintly fear for the woman that should heard the land. And a rumor should come over one year, after that another year should come a rumor, and by slayer rule against ruler." Right, so that's what we're seeing. There should be another year after another year, a rumor, after a year, another year, a rumor. And it should be by slayer rule against ruler, and that's what we're seeing. Just like that was happening in the days of Jeremiah. Now we are in those days once again. And Wadi Habashim Shap. It says, "My name is Muhammad." It's the book of so I'm gonna leave it at that. Yep, Matthew's, the book of Luke. Yep, the book of Luke. It's the book of Luke 21 and verse 11. Yep, it's the book of Luke 21 and verse 11. I'm starting at verse 9. This is the book of Luke 21 and verse 9. It says, "But when you shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass. But the end is not by end by." Right, so we're gonna see these we're going to see these modern day wars and commotions, and that's what we're seeing between the nations. So us Israelites, as being servants and prophets unto Yahawah Yahawashi, right along with the elders and apostles for Akim. So we're not going to be terrified of these things, because it's going to come to pass, be fulfilled as us being his servants and prophets on a day-to-day basis. This is Yep, Luke 21 and verse 10, it says, then say he unto them, nation shall rise against nation. Right, and that's what we see in our world today. Not just only here in America, we see that around the world, continually increasing on a day-to-day basis. Nation shall rise against nation, the kingdom against kingdom, which goes into ethnos, and that's what we see. This is the book of Luke 21 and verse 11. It says, "In great earthquakes shall be in diverse places." Right, so great earthquakes in diverse places. It says, "And there shall be fearful sights and great signs shall be from heaven." Right, so we're going to be seeing these increasing fearful sights and great signs shall be from heaven. That's what Yahawashi shall show us, and that's going to continue to increase. What's that? Luke 21 verse 25. Since I mentioned that. Y'all put up Luke 21 and verse 25. It says, "And there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth. The stress of nations will perplex the sea great glory." Right, so we seeing the increasing the signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and upon the earth. The distress of nations will perplex the sea great glory, and that's what we're seeing. And this is the book of St. Mark chapter 3 verse 24. This is the book of St. Mark chapter 3 verse 24. It says, "And if a kingdom be divided against itself, a kingdom cannot stand." Right, so if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand, and that's what we're seeing. We're seeing modern day kingdoms being divided. We're seeing that around the world, and we're seeing over here in America and around the world. So that's only going to continue to increase on a daily basis that Yahawashi spoke about during his times. And this can be related to modern day times as well too. Modern day kingdom being divided against modern day kingdom. So you're going to have a kingdom within itself being divided, and that's going to be divided with right along with the nations, and that's what we're seeing. So if a nation be divided against itself, if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. That's what we're seeing. This is St. Mark chapter 3 verse 25. It says, "And if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand." Right. So we seeing the nation of Edom being divided against one another. So if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand. That's what we're seeing. St. Mark chapter 3 verse 26. It says, "And if Satan rises against himself, be divided, cannot stand, but have an end." Right. So if Satan rises against himself, be divided, cannot stand, but have an end, and that's what we're seeing. And Wadi Shah. Source of the topic. And this is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2. Yep, Habakkuk 2 verse 1. It says, "And I will stand upon my watch and stand upon the tower, and I will watch to see when I shall answer unto me, when I shall answer when I will prove." This is the book of Habakkuk 2 verse 2. It says, "And the power of Yahawah answer me and say, write the vision, make it plain upon the table, that he may run and read of it, right, that he may run of it and read of it, and speak unto the house of Israel from the ancient times all unto now." And Wadi Shah. This is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, and it reads, it says, "For the vision is yet for the point in time, but the end shall speak." Right, the end shall speak. That's what we're seeing. It says, "Not lie, tarry word for it, because it is sure to come, not tarry." Right, so these biblical signs and prophecies are not tarry, because these prophecies are flipping off the pages on a daily basis. So for the vision is yet for the point in time, but the end shall speak. Not lie, tarry wait for it, because it is sure to come, not tarry. And Wadi Shah. This is the book of Isaiah. You have the prophet Isaiah chapter 62. Yep, this is the prophet Isaiah chapter 62 and verse 6. It says, "I have set watching upon thy walls, O Jerusalem." Right, we are Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is a people for its place. We represent Jerusalem from our forefathers' ancestors all to us, the Israelites. It says, Isaiah chapter 62 and verse 6, "I have set watching upon thy walls." Right, Heavenly Father has set watching upon thy walls from the ancient times all unto now. It says, "I have set watching upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day or night." It said, ye that make mention of Yahawah, and keep not thy silence. So we're going to continue to make mention of the Heavenly Father Yahweh and keep not thy silence. So we're not going to keep our peace neither day or night, because we're being on our watch, being a watchman. And the Israelites that scattered abroad, they being a watchman unto the house of Israel, Jerusalem. Isaiah chapter 62 verse 7. It says, "Give him no rest until he establishes and make Jerusalem praise in the earth." Right, so we're going to continue to make mention of the Heavenly Father Yahweh until he establishes and make Jerusalem praise in the earth. And Wadi Shah. And this is the book of Joel. Yeah, it's the book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, this is the book of Joel, chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, "Blow ye the trumpet into Zion, sound the alarm on my holy mountain." It says, "And let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh coming, for his nigh at hand." Right, so the day of the heavenly Father Yahweh is coming, for his nigh at hand. So we're sounding the alarm into Zion. Yeah, I'm read that again. "Blow ye the trumpet into Zion, sound your holy." Yeah, it says, "I sound the alarm on my holy mountain, and let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh coming, for his nigh at hand." Right, for the day of the heavenly Father Yahweh coming, for his nigh at hand. And this is the book of First Thessalonians, because Yahawashi is going to come and sleep tonight. This is First Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 2. It says, "For yourself know perfectly that Yahawashi shall come and sleep tonight." Right, so the day of Yahawashi is definitely going to come and sleep tonight. And this is the book of 2 Peter's. Yep, 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. Yep, 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. It says, but the day of Yahawah will come as a thief in the night. Just like I read that 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 2, Apostle Paul was mentioned. And this is Peter speaking as well too. It says 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10. It says, but the day of Yahawah will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens will pass away in a great noise, and the elements in an element shall melt with perfect heat. It says also, it says the earth also and the works therein shall be burnt up. Right, because Yahawashi is going to come back to fire. And that's why he had left a covenant between him and the earth that he wasn't going to flood the earth no more. So he's coming back with fire this time. And this is the book of Malachi. Yep, Malachi, the 4th chapter. Yep, Malachi chapter 4, verse 1. It says, for behold, right, this is Malachi speaking. Malachi 4, verse 1. It says, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn them up as an oven, and all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly shall stumble. In the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Yahawah of hosts, and they shall lead them neither root or branch. Well, I meant to say this is the Heavenly Father speaking through Malachi. Yeah, so hey, the day of Yahawashi is going to come as a thief in the night. He's going to come back with fire. Hey, the body Yahawashi. And this is the book of the prophet Isaiah. Yeah, prophet Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15. Oh, that's verse 65, trying to get to verse 66. Yeah, this is the prophet Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15. This is the prophet Isaiah chapter 55 verse 16. It says, for behold, Yah said, for behold, Yahawah will come as, for behold, Yahawah will come with fire, and with the chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fire, and his rebukes, and his rebukes with flame of fire. Right, his head father will come back with fire. Not Malachi. This is the prophet Isaiah chapter 66 verse 16. It says, for by fire and by his sword, what Yahawah will plead with all flesh. And the slaying of Yahawah should be many. Right, the slaying of Yahawah should be many. And this is the book of Isaiah 34 verse 8. Yeah, it's the book of Isaiah chapter 34 verse 8. Then I'm closing out. This is the prophet Isaiah chapter 34 verse 8. It says, for it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance and the year of recompense, for the controversy is Zion. Right, so this is the day of the Heavenly Father's vengeance and the year of recompense, just like he did that once before. He's going to do that once again. But the Heavenly Father, he's a righteous judgment power. What's that? Jeremiah 51st chapter. Thou art my battle axe of weapons of war. For with thee I will destroy kingdoms and I will destroy nations. And just like he did that once before, he's going to do that once again, because this is a controversy to Zion. And the Heavenly Father's going to come back with fire. And he's going to come as thief at night at the same time. And Wadi Habashi Mashai. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. So back out here again for the 4th time, out here on the Highways and Hedges, the Chief Blessed Concourse on this Sunday, on this Sunday, on this Saturday, September 14th, 2025, on this Sunday night. As always, a Wadi Habashi Mashai for campus about the Holy Ancient. We out here lifting up the names of Yahawah Yahshai now, so more than ever. And so with that, and once again, Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles wa Akim wa Akwaf. So with that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, and Heavenly Father, true name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach Yahawashi. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Last Wakadash Tongue. And I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles wa Akim wa Akwaf, as always, as we continue to lift up the names of Yahawah Yahawashi. Until next time, I will say Kwame Asherali and the Ball. Shalom.